Hello, this is Rohan, and this is probably gonna be the most ambitious project on the channel thus far. A playthrough of Persona 1. And this is gonna be the intro video for it, because I wanted to get a few things off my chest first. And while I'm doing that, I also have both of the game's intros as well, because yeah, this game released twice basically. So, so let's start from the beginning. So, Persona the Persona series is a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series, and that series got its origins from the Megami Tensei games, which were inspired by a novel called Digital Devil's Story, I do believe. Um, I think something like that. um, that book would inspire the Megami Tensei games on the Famicom, and then during the Super Nintendo era, Atlas decided that they wanted to try their own take on Megami Tensei. So they went on to make Shin Megami Tensei. Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2 would both be Super Famicom games. With SMT3 though, that would not release until much later on the PS2 as Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. So instead, the third game ended up being Shin Megami Tensei If. It's basically a parallel universe to Shin Megami Tensei 1, I do believe, where the events of that game never happened. It's considered a precursor to the Persona series because it takes place in a school setting, and also the Guardian system that game has is similar to how Personas are used. So, it's now 1996, and the first Persona game would be released this year, meaning that it's also the 25th anniversary of the series at the time I'm recording this. So that's pretty interesting. That game will be known as Megami Ibon Ruku Persona, and it would also be released over in the West, because yeah, this turned out to be the first RPG that Atlas ever localized. It would be known as Revelations Persona, and this was one very strange game indeed, compared to its Japanese version, mainly because it was quite the rushed localization. Um, there's some content as well, and yeah, the localization changes themselves tried to make the game more American, which kind of an interesting choice. But it would, despite how weird the translation was, Persona would still continue to see releases in the West, despite the fact that the next game in the series, Persona 2 Innocent Sin, wouldn't until the PSP era. But anyway, 2009 I do believe. So this is when Shin Megami Tensei Persona would be released. This is basically like a re-release, I guess you could say, of the original Megami Ibon Ruku Persona, and it's a lot more faithful to the Japanese version, in terms of its translation and its localization. But there were definitely some changes that weren't so well received, mainly in the soundtrack department as well as some other small things. But yeah, the soundtrack and the tone of the game is definitely one of the most contentious points of the PSP version. But in my opinion, both versions definitely have the highs and low points. With the PSP version probably winning out on top, and that's also the reason why it'll be the version I focus on for this playthrough, because yeah, the changes are mainly gameplay ones that speed up the gameplay and also make it a lot easier to record. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be doing the PSP version, but the PSP version has two routes in the game. Revelations Persona only had one route because this other route was axed, most likely due to time constraints. Because like I said, the localization was kind of a rush job for Revelations Persona. So anyway, what are these two routes? We have the Sebek route. This is the main route of the game, and it's a lot easier than the other route. And yeah, it's basically considered the main story of the game. Then there's the Snow King quest. Snow King quest is the more hardcore route which tells its own story. Um, Although I believe both stories actually can coexist in the same universe, which is interesting. Here's the thing about the Stoken quest, I've actually never played it, so if I do decide to do it on the channel, that should be quite interesting if I decide to go in without practice. So yeah. So as you would have guessed, the main focus of this playthrough is going to be the Sebek route. So it's what I'm most familiar with, and I've played both versions of the Sebek route. The PSP version first and then the PS1 version afterwards. Funnily enough, when I was looking at like my save files and stuff, the combined total was around like 80 to 90 hours, and Persona 5 takes longer than that to beat, so yeah, that's funny. Anyway, for me at least, I think it took me around 120 hours to beat Persona 5 Roll, but anyway. So this is where Persona would get its start. Persona differentiates itself from the S&T series by its more focus on characters, as well as other interesting things like Jungian psychology. Because yeah, let's just say that Persona definitely is very much concerned with like people's minds and how they view themselves and stuff like that, which is really interesting. And yeah, this is where it all began. Even though this game plays a lot differently from the modern Persona games like Persona 3 to 5, there's still definitely some interesting things to see here and there that would influence those later games as well. In fact, like a lot of things that are in Persona 5, they took a break from Persona 3 and 4. They were in Persona 1 and 2, and yeah, that'll be fun to look out for while I'm playing, of course. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, so let's go with some other things about this PSP playthrough that I'm going to be doing as well. So first off, spell cards. So you get a reward for getting every single spell card for every single enemy through demon negotiation. The reward for doing so isn't that great, so I'm not going to be doing it personally, especially because yeah, it'll make the playthrough a lot more easier for me to manage. But I will be pointing out what the reward is if you are crazy enough to decide to go for it. The main thing that you need to do for that is basically just keep track of all the negotiations that you successfully completed on like a spreadsheet or something. I could very well do that, but yeah, like I said, I want to make things a bit easier myself. And yeah, also I'll be playing on normal mode because I thought that normal mode felt fine in my PSP version playthrough, so that'll be good. And yeah, and one final thing as well, this playthrough will actually have bios for the first time. Now before, when I did my Fire Emblem and my Pokemon playthroughs, I only just talked about Pokemon / unit, without like showing any other additional information on the screen. But aside that, I would change things a little bit for this Persona playthrough, especially because yeah, we have a lot less characters to go over, so why not? And I thought it'd be fun. They're still a bit primitive, I will admit, but I tried my best. And yeah, I hope that'll make my chat about the characters and stuff be a bit more interesting. But yeah, it's not just going to be the characters I use the bios for, although I'll also be using it for Ultimate Personas later on as well. And potentially other Personas too, but we'll see. It depends on what I'm feeling, I guess. So, nothing else for me to add. It's time. Next video will be the actual start to the LP, so look forward to that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this potentially very ambitious playthrough of mine. And yeah, hopefully it'll go pretty well for me as well. And yeah, I hope you do learn some good things about this game too, even if this game doesn't seem as appealing as the modern day Personas to some people. I do hope that people will still like see what this game did and how this game can still be potentially impactful even to this day. So yeah, and yeah, during my playthrough I'm gonna be also going over like my experiences of playing this game too, because yeah, my playthroughs this year were definitely a lot of fun. I can't wait to talk about like my discussions about this game too, because yeah, there's just so much positive stuff came out of playing this game, practicing it during this year that yeah, I can't wait to talk about that during the videos. Anyway, enough of the rambling, so yeah, I'll end this video here, and next time will be the first part, so see you guys again.